Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chrisley knows best. Todd and Julie Chrisley returned to Mick with their podcast relaunch after prison release. Chrisley Knows Best alums Todd and Julie Chrisley scored a big podcast deal after their prison sentence. The married couple shared exciting news about returning to their original podcast, with a twist that delighted their listeners and fans. They wasted no time starting their entertainment journey again after serving a 2-year prison sentence. Julie and Todd went to interviews and showed up on Savannah's Unlocked podcast within 1 month of the presidential full pardon. Their conviction in 2023 for fraud charges led to a long wait for their children, who just sought less imprisonment. The family of 6 signed a lifetime series based on their prison life and its aftermath. Chrisley knows best Julie, Todd, Savannah, and Nanny Faye to join Poker Tour. Nanny Faye, Todd, Julie, and Savannah Chrisley are all ready to be streamed on an upcoming celebrity poker game. They are more excited than ever, having announced that they are dipping their toes into a new opportunity. Celebrity Poker Tour jointly shared an Instagram post revealing the reality stars are booked for the July 25 show. The night will be very special because the Chrisleys will have a first-time experience with the game. Fans were hyped about the family's upcoming endeavors. Most of them hoped that Nanny Faye would come out as a winner. The post asked fans to wait for game night with popcorn, as it would provide them with ample entertainment. But someone reminded the family that CPT might cheat them, so they should be wary. Chrisley Knows Best. Julie and Todd come up with first podcast episode. Julie and Todd Chrisley officially came on as hosts in their first episode of the Chrisley Confessions 2.0 podcast on July 16. It's been 2 months since they've been in their Nashville home, where they've joked about their prison life and current lifestyle. Before their podcasting, Podcastone, a major publisher and podcast sales network, declared their return. Todd and Julie had the podcast in 2018, but the latest stint is very close to their hearts. He is back to his humor, asking his wife what her name is. He told her that he hadn't seen her in 28 months, but slept with her for the last 34 days. Later, the pair described the podcast hosting experience as quite crazy following their jail stays. However, the senior Chrisleys vowed to sprinkle seasonings to make this time unforgettable. They discussed casually how their respective faiths had saved them and what their future held for them. Todd explained that a new show is on the list, and the other 3 will be picked at any time. He has worked on them behind bars. With Podcastone, Todd and Julie signed a deal allowing them to produce their show, which is the same company supporting the Unlocked podcast. As is known, the family is backing a hotel venture in South Carolina, while Savannah is eyeing a promising political future. She is running for Senate, which might gain traction. For the latest Todd and Julie's career tea, stay tuned to TV season. Barely risen over Nashville when social media exploded with a notification that many fans never expected to see again. Chrisley Confessions is back. The long-dormant podcast of Todd and Julie Chrisley had officially relaunched after their high-profile prison stints, and to say fans were shocked would be putting it mildly. It had been nearly 2 years since the couple was sentenced for tax evasion and bank fraud, and though their lives had been anything but private before prison, they had all but vanished behind federal bars, until now. With Todd recently released from the minimum security facility in Florida and Julie granted an early compassionate release from Lexington FMC, the Chrisleys were back. And this time, they had a lot to say. "We've been humbled, we've been broken, but we're still here." That was Todd's opening line in the new episode, and his voice, though still full of his signature Southern flair, carried a different weight. Julie sat beside him, noticeably thinner, more subdued, yet smiling in that ever-reassuring motherly way that fans had missed. People thought we'd be gone forever, Todd continued. But if there's one thing the Chrisleys don't do, it's give up. We've always said we'd walk through the fire together, and baby, let me tell you, we walked through hell. Julie added, we've had time to reflect, time to grieve, time to grow. And we've come back with a heart for truth, healing, and maybe even forgiveness. It was a striking shift in tone from the glamorous, confident couple that once flaunted designer wardrobes and a lavish lifestyle on Chrisley Knows Best. But this new podcast wasn't about flaunting. It was about reclaiming their voices in a world that had all but written them off. The Prison Diaries. Secrets from the Inside. One of the most jaw-dropping moments of the episode came when Todd dug into the details of his time behind bars. It's not club-fed like people think, he said candidly. You don't get private chefs and yoga classes. You get cold eggs, hard cots, and if you're lucky, a pillow without mold. Julie, visibly emotional, added, there were nights I cried myself to sleep. Not just because I missed my family, but because I questioned who I had become. I didn't even recognize myself. They revealed that the two were only able to speak twice a week, each time limited to short, supervised calls. Every time I hung up, Julie said, I worried it might be the last time I'd hear Todd's voice. Todd admitted to battling bouts of depression, but found solace in leading a Bible study group for inmates. It gave me purpose. It reminded me that even in prison, I could still serve something bigger than myself. The family fallout and healing. The couple didn't shy away from addressing the toll their incarceration had taken on their family. Savannah stepped up more than any 25-year-old should have to, Todd admitted. She raised Chloe and Grayson, ran our finances, and fought for us when the world turned its back. Julie wiped away tears as she praised her daughter. There were times I thought about giving up, but knowing Savannah was out there holding it all together kept me going. As for Lindsay, their estranged daughter who had publicly distanced herself from the family, Todd surprised listeners with an unexpected update. We've been talking again, he revealed. There's no roadmap to healing, but the door is open. That's all we can ask for. Life after prison. Where do they go from here? Toward the end of the episode, the Chrisleys addressed the burning question on everyone's mind. What's next? Well, Todd laughed, we may not be allowed to travel freely or touch our assets just yet, but we can talk, and we have a lot more stories to tell. Julie chimed in. This podcast isn't just a comeback. It's a testimony. We're going to talk about faith, forgiveness, federal prison, whatever people want to know. We owe our listeners the truth. Todd even teased a potential documentary in the works, documenting their journey from fame to downfall to redemption. There are cameras in our lives again, he said with a grin. But this time, it's real, raw, and honest. Fan reaction, emotional, divided, and intense. Within an hour of the episode dropping, #ChrisleyConfessions returns was trending on X, formerly Twitter. Fans flooded the internet with emotional reactions. Say what you want about Todd and Julie, but hearing their voices again gave me chills, one fan posted. Another wrote, they may be flawed, but you can't deny the Chrisleys have resilience. Welcome back. Of course, not everyone was thrilled. Critics accused the couple of using their prison sentences as a publicity stunt. They're capitalizing on crime, one user said. Let's not pretend this is noble. Still, the podcast reached over 1 million downloads within its first 8 hours.